Okay.
If I just left with my name, it will adopt the title and string
Right.
automatically. So I was saying, yesterday we had the Know Your Rights forum.
The thing now.
We got good feedback from.
Oh, grass fed is the thing now. If you're gonna eat meat, make sure it's grass fed.
Right.
Hey, I've been trying not to eat meat, period. Oh, I was trying to not eat meat, period.
I ordered for this.
Can you hear me now?
So yeah, I'm going to use.
Oh, I said I was trying to not eat meat, period. So I wasn't paying attention to what kind of meat is good. I was like, avoid all meat. But now I'm like, oh shit. I didn't eat a little snippets of things here and there, but if I'm gonna have my 20% of not being vegan, it better be grass fed. I was vegan, except I was 80% vegan. Like over a year. But I was just like, no, it don't matter if it's organic or nothing, it's all bad.
That's the point. You just call it a name.
Some people said the other kind is okay, right?
I don't have Zoom. Wait, now you go live on Zoom there. Still on. Wait, now you go live. Oh, that's up. Everybody good? Okay.
Oh, you just want to do share screen so you can share the screen yard. Share the screen yard broadcast.
Share screen options.
Yeah, just go to share screen and then
Oh, down there. Okay. Let's start, y'all. So yesterday, as I was saying, we had a Know Your Rights affair forum. If you have it, if you will, we had what? Several attorneys in, ACLU attorneys. How many was it? Four?
Three
Yep. Attorneys.
Three attorneys for SCLU. Yep.
And we didn't have a big turnout. We had what, 10 people at that, something like that. Yeah, I don't know. And but all in all, the attorney said it was a good group of people because the questions that were being presented, they had enough time to address them properly and get some good feedback from their attorneys back to the audience. But I don't know, what you think, as far as the Know Your Rights forum?
I mean, it was good.
What came out?
I had my little one running around, so I kept trying to pop in on her, you know what I mean, as she was hanging out with Steve. So ultimately, though, it was good. We had the Know Your Rights focusing on your right to protest. So basically, your First Amendment right, which gives you the right to assemble. And here in the city of Chicago, especially now because we're on the federal consent decree, a lot of the ways that police interactions happen when protesting or they're interacting with a group of individuals have changed. And so they were bringing forth the information that folks need to know if they're going to be protested. And the reason is because obviously in August, the DNC will be here. And there's going to be a lot of protests as it relates to whatever issues that folks are going to be want to present to the DNC, which obviously, city of Chicago, we talking crime. Larger scale, we talking migrant issues. Larger scale still, we're talking about Palestine. So I mean, there's going to be a lot of conversations to be had around the DNC and even more protests. So we wanted to make sure that folks were we wanted to make sure that folks understood what their First Amendment right guaranteed them, so that when interacting with Chicago police, because it's not an if, it's definitely is going to be a when, they understand what their rights are, as well as what the changes in policing has been as a result of the consent decree that we're under. So that was pretty cool. And then the other piece, we brought them on to also discuss pretrial fairness. And so this is one of the biggest misconceptions that was going on during the time of the SAFE Act, which is essentially getting rid of cash bail. What that meant was that anybody that was found, not even found, no, let me not say found, anyone that was arrested because of a crime can no longer be held because of that crime if the judge that's presiding over that case believes that that person is not a danger to run or will be a danger to the public. And some of these offenses can range up to second-degree assault, which is interesting in and of itself, but this is manifesting itself in a lot of different ways. It really hasn't taken shape until September of last year, so there's a very small window of data that exists on this, and that's one of the other things that the creation of the SAFE-T Act did, which was create now a way for folks to track the individuals that have to interact with the court. So at one point, it used to be you'd go to a bond hearing and it lasted no more than 2 minutes. You go in front of the judge say, this is the crime, bill set at XYZ. You can come up with it, you cannot come up with it. Now, what they're doing is giving the person who the act was committed upon the opportunity to say whether that person should or is a threat. And so one of the examples they gave, for example, was a guy had, they said a guy, I don't know, I can't, damn, what was it? Dang, what's a good example they gave? Anyway, I can't even think of the particular situation, but they said now a person is able to argue in court like, hey, he's the breadwinner of the family. If he's not out, then we're going to fall apart. So stuff like that, the judge takes into consideration and, give that person the opportunity to remain free. When we had bail, you would get locked up if you couldn't pay your bail. You would stay in jail if you didn't have your bail until your trial hearing. So they came to talk to us about that. The data doesn't exist yet, but we're looking forward to when the data starts to come out to talk about how this has fared. There has already been instances where people that were awaiting their trial has done some other acts. So it's gonna be very interesting to see what that looks like. So
Wait a minute. So you saying if a guy, a drug dealer, gets locked up, but he's the breadwinner of the place, the judge takes that into consideration?
if that's
If
what I
the
was trying to
drug dealer,
I was trying to think of the best way to a good scenario in which it mattered to the two people involved, because I cannot remember the exact scenario that they gave, but it was between a man and woman. I don't think it was like an assault or something like that, but they talked about the woman being able to go to court and saying, hey, he's the breadwinner of the family. If he goes to jail, we'll fall apart without him. So testimony like that can help sway a judge to be like, all right, we're not going to lock this individual up, because they still have an opportunity to do that. And the prosecutor still has an opportunity to say, no, we think a violent crime, this person still may commit a violent crime or is a danger to himself
And others.
okay, so let's say the scenario was, happened,
But
and she said to the judge that
but
he's
a
the breadwinner.
but a
Can
drug
she show
dealer,
proof?
if
Hold
if
on,
if a
hold on.
drug dealer hasn't been convicted, mhm,
Hold on. He was trying to finish his statement.
yeah.
Yeah, no, so
So
like,
I mean,
oh, go ahead. No, let Tiny go. Let Tiny go.
yeah, I was just saying that if a guy he's up for bond, he's not been saying that he's a drug dealer yet. They assume he's a drug dealer, and if he's a breadwinner, then he should qualify for that to be taken into consideration.
Now, if he's selling illegal drugs,
I mean, well, if he,
I mean,
if
but he hadn't been. They haven't said he's going to bond court. He hasn't been proven guilty yet.
right, exactly, and that's exactly what happened. If a person gets caught selling drugs, they're not going to have bond, and they would just they'll be out until their trial. But if they get caught again while awaiting trial, then it gets how you call it, like then the punishment becomes greater. Like they could stay in there until trial, or I don't know, home monitoring.
well, I wasn't even saying they went in for drugs. I was just saying that the woman said, that he's the breadwinner, and then he says, well, I sell weed. Weed, technically, they don't go to jail for it, so can't really go in on them for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he was in for, let's just say, a domestic. Let's just say it was a domestic. And she says he's the breadwinner. This web is getting really, really tangled now. He had a domestic with the woman that went to the judge and said, he's the breadwinner. And then he goes, yeah, Your Honor, I sell weed. Where does this go?
Well, okay, so it's a little tricky because one time me and my sisters was going to pick up my brother, and we went to a court hearing. And before my brother came out, there was a guy, black dude, well-dressed, haircut, clean cut, and he had his whole work uniform on. He got locked up in his work uniform. And I was like, dang, this man got a job, bro. He got a whole job. So it's like, in certain ways, I can see this being good, but it's like, I mean, bro, if you commit a crime, I don't think you should be let out of. I don't think there should be no consideration. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it should be any consideration. I think you should just go do your time. You shouldn't have been doing, you shouldn't have been doing crime.
Domestic?
You know what? You know what, Steve? You know what? I promise you, it was a domestic. It was a domestic. And I thought to myself, like, dang, this man finna lose his job, but hey, man, keep your hands to yourself. Keep your hands to yourself. You know, you don't got the right to touch nobody. And so you put yourself in a predicament where you can mess up your money and lose your bag. You know, I just don't believe in criminals catching a break. The Safety Act thing is like, it sounds like you're giving criminals a break. If you in that legal system, 9 times out of 10, you did something to go there. You know what I'm saying? You've done something. It ain't too many people in jail for no apparent reason because, oh, I'm a black man in America and the police locked me. I can see if this was the 80s and the 70s when they have technology, but if you in jail and you in court, 9 times out of 10, you did something.
Well, I'm just going back to what if hypothetically it was a domestic between the young lady that came before the judge and said he needs to be out because he's the breadwinner. And then the judge says, "What do you do, sir?" He goes, "Well, I sell weed." So now we got a domestic between the two people that stand in front. We got no cash bail that's being presented. And the guy just said he sell weed in the state of Illinois, where we all know now for the last 4 or 5 years, you can sell weed because they ain't trying to do nothing but write a ticket. If they feel like going to get the ticket because it's a state ticket and it's not a regular ticket. But I want to conclude with this part and say, if you guys haven't figured this out yet, Illinois has taken on a lot of different changes in the last 10 years. We got concealed carry. That's been going on about 10 years now, right? At least 10.
Probably a little less than that, but
A little less, really?
yeah, I would say a little less than 10 years.
I thought it's at least since 2014, but maybe not. But it's good. It's getting close to it. Then we got no cash bail. Then we got legal marijuana. Then we got, what else we have going on in Illinois as far as laws that are kind of new to us in a big way. Those three are big. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, but it's still not federal. So you know the ATF can still kick the dough in on a dispensary and confiscate all of them if they wanted to, because it's not federally legal. You know, it's not federal yet. So it is legal, but it's like it's really 50-50. If the ATF wanted to come in and kick the dough in and confiscate everything, they could, because it's not federally legal.
So what about the guy on the corner just selling weed?
Oh, he definitely going to jail. It's still illegal to sell weed. If you're not at a dispensary, but if you're, go ahead.
They won't lock you up. They will only give you a ticket for it, and it's a state of Illinois ticket that only a sergeant or a lieutenant or a captain, somebody of a white shirt, has to come out, bring the ticket book while they detain the person on the corner with the weed, and then they wait for that person to free up so they can come on the spot. So you got 10 spots that's selling weed, and 10 different lieutenants and sergeants are stopping these guys. I mean, they have to come out, and it's only one book. There's only one book per district, so you gotta wait. If you got 10 guys selling weed on the corner, and the cops stop 10 of them, and they said bring the book, the lieutenant's got to go from spot to spot to spot to spot with the book, with the state book. That's why they don't mess with it. I've literally talked to higher ups, and they say, Steve, all we're gonna do is bring them in and take them out the back door, because the way the courts are set up. So, we got our hands tied and we do what we can do. Now, if you got some weight, they're going to roll you. They're going to roll you if you got some weight. But other than that.
Oh, okay, that's kind of weird. Because it seemed like they were still, because from my recollection, it's legal to have weed on you, a certain amount. You can have 7 grams on you. If you walking down the street, police search you, you got weed on you. But if the police see you doing a hand-to-hand transaction and you're receiving money from weed, that is tax evasion. You are getting locked up for the distribution of drugs.
Nope, that's not the way they see it.
I've seen it. I'm telling you what I've seen, though.
You seen the police? You seen the police get somebody for tax evasion?
No, I'm saying I've seen the police lock people up for weed.
What year
for
was this?
selling weed.
What year was this?
Within the past 3 years, when I was doing my soldiering on the west side of Chicago, they still lock people up for weed, Steve.
They must have some substantial amount on them because they told me they ain't doing nothing but writing a ticket if it ain't got enough weight.
Because if you haven't, like for instance, if you got weed in individual baggies, that's called intent to distribute drugs. Now, if you got it in a one zip, one bag, all of it in a bundle, you feel me, and you just pinch off of it, that's different. But when you got it in when them 10-10s and them 12-12 skinnies, when you got it in them 10-10s and them 12-12 skinnies, they're gonna hit you with intent to distribute drugs.
I beg to differ with this. I think what you saw, they were not only selling weed, they had something else because they're not going to arrest them when
I'm trying to tell you, I've been on the ground.
Huh?
Trying to tell you, I've been on the ground. They're gonna lock you up.
Well, what district was this? Because they don't do it in our district.
Yeah, they do. No, you talking to a guy who was in the street doing this.
Oh, you talking about before the law came out? You talking about before the law came out?
You know what? My bad. So okay, so is this the Safety Act law?
No, this is the cannabis law. They started in 2022.
Right. Okay. So right, but the Safety Act was passed last year though. So the Safety Act came. It started September 2023. So what you're saying is, I would say prior to the Safety Act, and this is maybe what you're speaking of, Steve. Now that the Safety Act is in place and there's no bond, and now with the dispensaries really rolling, because it's 2-3 years from now, I'm saying like officers would be like, ain't no point of doing this now. What am I doing? I'm wasting my time.
Well, I don't know about the Safety Act then, because this just happened, right?
What?
Safety Act.
2023.
Yeah. No. I was with the commander and the captain and some lieutenants at the 25th district, and this was probably in 2021, about 2021. And I said, what we doing with these guys out here selling the weed? Because they still out here, and now that the state's selling it, y'all should go get them because you don't want them breaking, taking money from the state,
right? Because
the state wants their taxes. They said, Steve, we ain't gonna do nothing. We can't do nothing, but write them a ticket. And I said, what? Write a ticket? He said, yeah. Then the ticket's a state ticket book. Then one of the white shirts got to come out and administer it while they detain the person. And we ain't doing that for no if it ain't no volume. If it ain't no volume, but we can bring them in and take their dough, we ain't bothering them. And I'm telling you, I talk to DCOs, I talk to people on the ground, and they always cops on the ground. They say, see, we just guess what was happening when COVID was going on? The guys was out there selling weed. Cops literally told me, well, we're gonna go over here and check on the spot and make sure everybody got their mask on. That's what they told me. We ain't arresting nobody. We just gonna make sure they go over there and got their mask on and they safe. So they were literally making sure that the guys selling weed was safe, wearing masks, keeping their distance, and ain't nobody trying to stick them up and cause problems. I know that for a fact, and I thought everybody knew that. I thought you knew that. I thought you were with me that day when we went over there, and they told us this. With Reverend, when we went in there with Reverend Wright. Right. They told us this, I think. But I heard it. They literally told me. And the commander said it. So I'm like, that's the protocol, because the guys ain't never left the spot. They've been there since 2003, 20 years. But and then of course, every time somebody gets shot or gets stuck up, then everything changes because now they bring the security on, and then they all in heightened alert and they're antsy, and then they start trying to sell other things because they figure we got guns on us, we might as well bring some heavier drugs and try to push them out so we make more money so we can get out of here early or whatever. And that just makes it worse. Now the cops come in and then they make some arrests and get guns and fentanyl and all this other stuff. But no, man, all I'm saying is we are living in a state that has taken on, and I never understood this. I'm gonna stop right here. I knew people that were from former Soviet Union when the Soviet bloc was when they broke down the walls in Berlin and the Soviet Union collapsed. And people told me from the Soviet Union, they said, Steve, too much, they call it perestroika. Perestroika means openness. Too much openness and too much freedom too fast is not good. And I started thinking about that. I'm like, man, that's probably like if you were starving and all of a sudden you dropped in the middle of country buffet and you just start grabbing food and just shoving it in your face because it was all there and free. And what's going to happen? You're going to get upset stomach, you're going to throw it up, or even worse. And that's the same thing what they were trying to tell me about. Too much freedom too fast is not good. And I think in our case, I mean, when we call these freedoms, being able to, you know, have marijuana legal, being able to have cash bond free, being able to conceal and carry, I mean, would you call those freedoms?
No, those are constitutional rights. It's in the Constitution for you to bear arms. So we won't go through a monarchy like we did with the Brits. You know, George Washington and them, they went through hell battling the Brits. So that's just a constitutional right, you know, to fight government terror.
Right? But a right is a freedom, isn't it?
No, right isn't a freedom. It's a right. I don't look at that as a freedom. I look at that's your natural right. That's an American right to bear arms.
But a freedom just means you are free to do so.
I think it's a difference between a freedom and a right. And the right to bear arms is a right. It's in the Constitution. It don't say freedom.
Google it. Let's see what freedom and rights mean, because I'm almost sure it's the same thing. I mean,
no, I think they're two different things.
If I told you you're free to roam the plane, or if I say you have the right to roam the plane, you know, like when they tell you, we in the air now, you're free to roam the plane. You have the right to roam the plane. It's the same thing.
So I could tell you you're free to do this, but you might not have the right to do so. You could go right now. You have the freedom to go get an AK-47 and shoot it, but you might not have the right. Did that make sense? You might not have the right. A 13-year-old, I can say you got the freedom to go drive this car and go to the store and pick up me some cigarettes, but you don't have the right to because you're not old enough. So there's a difference between a right and a freedom.
I don't know. I don't think if you tell somebody to do something illegal, it's freedom. I mean,
yeah, no, what I'm saying though, it's a difference between having a freedom.
I think you're confusing choices versus rights and freedoms. You know, you can have the choice to do something wrong, but that don't mean it's right that you have the rights or the freedoms to. It's a choice.
Right, okay, right. No, so are you concealed carry?
I'm concealed. I'm any kind of carry.
Okay, cool. So I'll take that as a no. So you have the freedom to carry a gun, but if you didn't go to the proper channels to get your concealed carry, you don't have the right. You got the freedom, yeah. We grant you the freedom. You are free to do whatever you want. But if you don't have your concealed carry, you do not have the right to carry your firearms, at least in Illinois.
You're not free to do whatever you want. You just said that.
Exactly. But again, that's the difference between freedom and a right.
But you don't have the right to carry either. That's the whole point. I'm trying to look up freedom and right. I said freedom versus.
I mean, we got a PhD up here. What you doing, bro? Enlighten us. Teach us, man.
He's looking forward to.
He's killing me.
I think it's what it makes me think about is how, interactions with the police go. So we have rights that are protected, as I mentioned, with the First Amendment, and how, we could say what we'd like, but if you go and say to an officer, "I'll beat your ass," Going to jail. So yeah, you got freedom of speech being one, but you are right. You don't have the right to talk to an officer like that because they can arrest you for it.
Facts.
So, yeah.
But that wouldn't be a portion of freedom of speech. Because
Yeah, I should be. I mean, freedom of speech is freedom of speech. You know what I mean? That's what I think.
But if they tell you can't say that without being penalized, then you're not free.
Right.
Say it.
Right. Yeah.
So
Well,
my
it is
point
stipulations too. It is stipulations to freedom of speech. You can't go in a movie theater and yell bomb.
You will not be prosecuted, penalized, or persecuted by what you say. But if you are going to be prosecuted, penalized, or persecuted by it, it's not a freedom at that point. It's
Right.
just, it's just what it is. So again, freedoms and rights are the same thing, man. What you're confusing, Mosaic, is the opinions. You can have an opinion.
No. Freedom and rights are two different things. If you look it up in the dictionary, they will give you two different definitions.
Let me see. So what pulled up right here says the freedom is the ability to direct your own life without unreasonable constraint or coercion. A right is something that you are owed by society. Freedoms prevent a society from making rules that unfairly constrain the individual.
Exactly. So again, you have the freedom of speech, but in the freedom of speech, they do list the things that you can't do with the freedom of speech. It can't infringe upon another person's. You can't infringe upon another person's health. So you can't yell bomb in the theater because you could cause a riot. Someone could get hurt. You will be prosecuted for that person getting hurt. You can't threaten the officer.
What you said, freedoms are limited. And
Freedom, both. I would say both are limited. Freedoms and rights are limited. They both come with limitations.
Well, okay, let's use this in a real blatant concept. You are a slave. When you're emancipated, is that a right to you when you're emancipated, or is that a freedom granted to you that you're emancipated?
That was a right. Those were rights. Because that right is still in the
Look, those rights came in the Bill of Rights.
And the right became a freedom, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know. Anybody
Well, it says that these are interrelated and inseparable. It says that you got to understand that right and freedom have distinct meanings. In some cases, they can be used interchangeably. For example, the right to vote is also a freedom. The freedom to participate in a democratic process. It just says in some cases, one word may be more appropriate than others, with a couple nuances. A right is a moral or legal entitlement to something. It is owed to you by virtue of being a human being or a member of a particular group. For example, the right of speech is a fundamental right in many countries. It means you have the freedom to express yourself without fear or censorship or punishment. Generally, rights are considered inherent to all individuals and cannot be taken away without due process of law. Freedom is the state of being free from constraints or limitations. It is the ability to act, speak, or think without interference from others. Positive freedom refers to the ability to pursue one's goals and desires, while negative freedom is the absence of external constraints. In the context of political philosophy, freedom is often seen as a key component of democracy and is essential to a functioning free society. So they similar but different.
It jumps back and forth.
Well, yeah, it definitely do.
What I was trying to really say, I think we took on too many rights that led us to these freedoms.
For sure.
That I agree.
That's causing us what we're dealing with now, man. I mean, if we didn't have concealed carry, this is what I believe. I believe the gun violence would be down a lot more.
What?
Because as soon as people started thinking that, you know, concealed carry is everybody's right, because that's what, you know, I got people that are cops, and they told me 7, 8 years ago, they said, man, when I go and grab these guys off the corner, the first thing they said, when I say, hey, you got any guns, drugs, weapons, or needles on you, anything that's gonna stick me or what this and that, and they go, yeah, I got my gun. He said, oh, okay, let me get it right now. And then they say, man, you can't take my gun. It's my right to have a concealed carry. And then the first thing he said is, as a police officer, do you have your Ford card? Did you take the concealed carry class? Have you been certified by the concealed carry class? Man, I ain't gotta have all that. It's my right.
Well, hold
So,
on, wait a hold on, wait a minute. So you villainizing concealed carry holders, but then you're showing an example of someone who's not a concealed carry holder. If someone has a gun, dude, that guy that got pulled over and had a gun on him, and the cop asks, "Did you take the proper qualifications to get your firearm?" And he said, "No, it's my right." He's ignorant of the law because you didn't go through the proper qualification. Yeah, but it's not the fault of the concealed carry. It's the fault of the individual being ignorant of the law. And you know what the law says. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So
everybody's using ignorance as a scapegoat. You know how people are.
Yeah, but I can't blame the law for someone being ignorant. You still should be prosecuted.
I'm not blaming the law. I'm saying since this change has happened, what I'm thinking is the increase of gun violence has happened because everybody thinks that they have the right without following the processes and the procedures the right way. And they just want to use it as a scapegoat. Then the other thing, you know what talk is, man, I'd rather be caught with it than without it. Because everybody else got one that's concealed. So you got stupid people doing stupid things, causing more gun violence. That's why I'd rather be judged by 12.
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this from a guy who's in the criminal underworld, who dealt with a lot of guns that you would think I was a Taliban, insurgent. The type of guns I've had. A person who's illegally having a firearm is gonna have an illegal firearm, whether we was able to conceal carry or not. Before the concealed carry law happened, people who wanted to get their hands on guns, they had them already. Me and Dre, we know personally, you feel me, guys who in the streets would have had these guns regardless. They just using the law as a scapegoat. And I think they should be locked up too. I think those guys should be locked up. But I think it's been more safe. Because matter of fact, Steve, you remember that police officer woman who shot that guy who was trying to rob her? She had her concealed carry. That saved that woman. That woman would have got killed by that man if she didn't have her gun.
You just said a police woman.
Yeah, but you know what? If I'm not mistaken, they still gotta have a concealed carry too. If I'm not mistaken.
No, they have a concealed carry because they're police.
Oh, they don't have to have one?
No, you're a policeman even when you're not on duty. Right. You're a policeman. Only time you're not a policeman is you retire, or they make you, or they fire you, or you pass away in duty. But you're a policeman 24/7.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but she still was concealed carry. Her gun still was hidden. She couldn't have worn it openly, so she still was concealed and she still was carrying, and it still saved her life. I think having a concealed carry saves lives. I really do. I think this Chicago, back in the days in the 90s and the 80s, these guys was gonna have guns anyway.
Yeah, but I just think there's more people with them. That's all. That's what I'm saying.
No, I agree. It is more people with guns. It's more people with guns.
Part of the reason is because of the change in the law. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree.
I don't think I don't know if concealed carry is the way to go. I think open carry might be the better way.
Yeah, me too.
That happens in Texas. You don't hear about all this crazy. I mean, they got some straight up crazy people in Texas. They just go into school and shoot everybody and all that. But You
Yeah,
know,
I like Texas. Texas, I think the whole America should follow how Texas. I want to move to Texas because I like their laws and they do not play in Texas.
well, I'm thinking, we do know Texas is a lot more, what's the word, vast and not consolidated. You know, you're not, you got a few, a few towns, Dallas and what else? What's the other? Houston, they're kind of dense, that's the word I want to say. But even although they still don't have the populations that we have in those two towns.
Yeah, no, yep.
If they got barely 800,000 people, that would be, maybe they might have 1 million in Dallas. We got 3 million in Chicago, plus. So.
Wait, we got 3 million people in Chicago?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's
okay.
Something like that.
Well, we dropped a couple, 100,000, but still.
And Dre, how many black people you said in Chicago? 800,000?
700,000.
No.
About 700,000. The last time I just checked. Or at least according to the census.
Yeah, but the census, and you already told me you were out there, they weren't filling it out. So we're gonna say a meal. That's the way it is in Chicago now. You got about 1 million Hispanics, 1 million blacks, and 1 million white people that have moved back to the city because when their parents left the white flight and moved to the suburbs, they said, why are we out here? There's too much fun, and I went to school in the city and to colleges and all this. I want to live that jet set life, and they moved back. The young white people moved back in the last, 20 years? 25? When they started building up downtown, since the 90s?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Downtown Chicago?
That was in the 80s and the 70s. Nobody lived downtown. It was, man, the 70s was like ghost town downtown. You just had business people. And after 5 o'clock, you didn't see the suits. You would see was guys in suits. That was it. And it was primarily guys. But, people have, I remember one time I saw in the 90s, they had an apartment on Michigan Avenue in like Randolph or Washington. It was $3,000 a month. And I was saying to myself, how can somebody afford $3,000 a month for a 1-bedroom? But it was doable. They were doing it. So
Still ain't changed. They still got them numbers.
yeah. And that was a lot in the early 90s. I'm talking like 90, 91, something like that. When I started seeing
3,000, that was a lot.
Yeah, back in the 90s.
Yeah. But they had it posted on the building. I remember looking up and going, wow. But nevertheless, we were really talking about knowing your rights and how the forum went. I love to keep those going because, man, boy, what we really need to do is get more younger people in. And I don't know what it is, man. When you're young, you're dumb, you think you know everything. Man, I know everything. Man, I'm invincible and all that. I get it. But you really don't. And when people are offering things, you should take advantage of it because what happens? Something happens, then they'll, who's going to help me? Who's going to tell me? I didn't know. Yeah, really? Don't nobody care about none of that. Nobody care about what you didn't know. You learned the hard way because you didn't take advantage of the things that were there.
Yeah.
What you say there, Barry? Barry, you were at the forum yesterday. What do you think?
Hey, Steve.
What's happening, Barry?
Good forum, really good. Really enjoyed listening to that guy from ACLU.
Right.
And the woman who followed on victim rights.
Right.
And talking about the new no cash elimination of the cash bond.
Yeah. What did you? I mean, can you care to elaborate a little bit?
Well, what I like most was Miss Jacobs and Alice were both skeptical as I was seeing their reactions to what was being presented. So, and each of them said something specific, and then the guy from ACLU responded, and they went back and forth. And I think that they were more open to it, is what the way I was reading Alice and Miss Jacobs, but still not trusting. So it seemed like a trust issue to me. But personally, I felt very positive about this new system. The victim has more rights than before, and they could testify. And the prime reason for holding someone in jail is risk. And if somebody is jailed, is arrested, and then commits the crime again, and arrested again, then they go to jail until trial. So it's more work for the police, because instead of arresting them once, they have to arrest them twice. But this way, with the second arrest, they get jailed regardless of whether they have the money or not in the old system.
So you just said you think the prime reason for arresting a person is to prevent them from being a risk of flight? What did you say?
In other words, the reason for throwing them in jail or demanding a bond was to make sure they would be show up in court. Because they're presumed innocent until proven guilty.
So that's what you said. It's just to make sure
Say
they
that
show
again?
up. You're saying it's just to make sure that they can show up in court if they get arrested for something minor.
Yeah, right. But if they're dangerous to the community or to the victim, then they can be detained. That is, goes directly to jail until trial.
Right. I got you. I don't know. It's a lot to cover. That's all I'm saying.
You don't know what, Steve?
I said it just seems like a lot to cover.
Yeah, it's a big topic, but it seems like an important change. And what I had proposed that's not present is the savings from having fewer people in jail go back to the communities from which people have been jailed. In other words, 15% of the population is Black, 55% of the jail population is Black. So if we have fewer people in jail, then that savings, I believe, should go back to 55% of that savings should go back into the Black community for mental health and other ways to strengthen the community. And that would, so what we'd be doing is having fewer people in jail, fewer people committing crimes, and safer communities. So that's what I got out of it. And this last thing is my reaction to it. That is something that I would like to see happen to go further.
So what about repeat offenders? I mean,
repeat offenders should may not be eligible to get out of jail before trial.
And what constitutes a repeat offender? What's the definition? I did something 10 years ago. I did something 10 days ago. I did
Yeah,
something
I
10
don't
years
know,
ago.
Steve, but I
Ain't
think
that-
that's either defined by the law or up to the judge. But
The reason
the,
I'm saying it is because there was a young man and his mother was stabbed to death. The mother survived. It was up in Rogers Park. And they won't release the name of this person, I guess because they don't want, because they said the guy had done something in the past and the judge let him out. So they don't want to release the name of the guy so that people can go look his name up and see who the judge is. They will not release this man's name. They've been dilly-dallying about that for the last 3, 4, 5 days since this happened. And they will not release the criminal's name, the alleged criminal.
so what are you saying you
I-
think should be done?
I'm saying if you got people going around stabbing people to death in the middle of their apartments, we need to know who these people are. Don't you want to know?
I know one of the things that they said that they'll be providing at some point data to suggest for these folks that are not facing any bond hearings, what the return rate looks like, you know. So it's gonna be interesting because a lot of people are up arms about it. Stuff like this is happening, you know, more than we care to know, but
Got that.
this is out of the Safety Act.
Thank you, sir. Got it. Well, hi.
I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying. It just. I want to know where it's safe to be, where it's not safe to be, who it's not safe to be around, who is safe to be around. And if you give people those warnings, that prevents the crime. But when we're doing what they just did the other day when they killed what was it, 7-year-old boy, 9-year-old, he stabbed to death and tried to kill the pregnant mother. Was she pregnant? And the authorities are not saying who the person is. Why would they not say who this person is? One, could it be that he's a police officer? Two, could it be that they're trying to protect the judge that let the guy out the first time? Because once they give his name, you can track that back to what judge convicted him and let him out.
Right.
Or didn't convict him and let him out. Or three, he's an elected official. I mean, why are they trying to cover this up? Somebody needs to tell me that.
Wait, you talking about? No, I see the name of that.
Oh, they gave the name now? Well, they sure waited like 4 days or so before they said we're not releasing your name. That's all they kept saying. We're not releasing the name. We're not releasing the name. So does anybody know who's in? Oh, he's checking. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I did. I told him. Oh, Corsetti Brand.
Yeah.
Person name is Corsetti Brand. Okay. Good info.
The young man that killed a young lady in Monday had a previous regular offenses related to choking and abusing a female, a previous relationship. That young lady last week, he gave his rap sheet kind of talked about.
So someone said the person was 37 years old and it was the mother's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder why they didn't want to let that name out right away. They knew that. Why would they not want to let the name out? What is it about this person that they had to wait 4 or 5 days to do this? I don't know. But nevertheless, the other thing we're supposed to be talking about is SROs, school resource officers, and to have or to have not, or to have them, have some and not to have some, you know, as many. Does anybody know what an SRO is?
See if No damn thing. Clean. I was gonna see
School
Wayne, but
resource officer.
this Wayne got shit.
School resource officer, hold on. Carry on for me a minute.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's leaving a comment. Let me see. I want to turn this. It says, yeah, school resource officer, absolutely. Hey, who's on iPhone? Who's the person on iPhone so I can know who I'm addressing?
That's me.
Oh, that's you, Anna?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got you.
Old school just got new school. Thanks to that.
Oh yeah.
You said old school got new school. Somebody's schooling something. But go ahead, talk about it. You can take over, Anna.
Now, 39 public schools have voted to have school resource officers. They felt that the protocol of process was not followed in regards to the school board taking that right of the local, what do they call them? Schools.
The school councils, local LSEs.
Yeah. And there's some consideration if they can come up some way to file suit to bring them back, because many of them feel there's a need for a school resource officer because it has not been deeply explained as to what would be the whole rollout on if they had a violent situation occur in the school.
Right. Right.
Speaking. So, and whatever individual that's employed through the board, if they're not legally empowered to make a request or ascertain or hold an individual, would that help or hinder if some situation was developed? So it's messy, I could say, but the local council that they're legally empowered, but I don't think it's spelled out that they should be.
Right.
Voted in the legislation that there's some jurisdiction say that they should have, because they're written in the budget and then you just make an arbitrary decision.
Right.
So
That's what, huh?
it gets messy at that point.
Yeah, I think I think that's where the fight needs to go. It has to go back into the schools, and it should be the local school councils that make the ultimate decision. But I'm gonna also say I think it should be a combination of the students, the parents, and the local school council. I think you should try to get some input for all three of those entities and then make the decision based on the input everybody feels, you know.
What you mean? What decision, Brody? Like for what?
SROs, school resource officers. So these are police officers that are sometimes retired, or they could even be off duty at the time, but they're employed by Chicago schools. So just recently there was a vote to remove police officers in all of the CPS schools across Chicago. And, you know, there's some folks are happy about it, some aren't. And I'm just saying, I think the responsibility of the decision should have gone to the students, their parents, as well as the local school council.
So let me tell you the problem, man. Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell all of you something. This is the problem with Democratic progressives. They want to take police officers out of the school. When I was growing up and I was in high school, we was cool with the police officers that went to our school, though. We were cool with them. Nobody had an issue. And when Officer Santiago came to come get you, Officer Santiago coming to come get you. He roaming the school, got a uniform on, got the 1911 in his holster. Officer Santiago was cool. Even the gang members was cool with Officer Santiago. And also, I think it's good to have police officers within the school because it gets students acclimated to police presence and how to deal with police presence. You feel me? Like it gets you, you get to look at his body armor, his uniform, his posture. You get to see a firearm. A lot of kids don't really see a gun up close and personal, so they kind of like with a cop. You feel me? And when you're around a cop, you kind of get this authority aura about him because he is a law enforcer. So it's crazy that they want to take officers out of the school like there's a pandemic of officers killing kids in the school, which is not the case. I like who?
Here's the deal. You're dealing with a different generation, man. You're in a different generation. This generation that is in school now are saying that weapon, that 1911 you were talking about, traumatizes them. They say they don't want to go to a school and feel as if they're being policed and prepared for county jail. So
what plantation mindset is that?
In addition, there has been instances where SROs have drugged young ladies down the stairs and engaged
as they should.
And
as they should.
Would you want them to respect your daughter?
If my daughter is being disrespectful to an adult and a man, handle her. Show her she's a child. Put her in her place. That's what I'm saying. Rest in peace, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Brooks will pull you in the office. All right, he gonna tell you, you've been fucking up in classroom. I'm tired of you coming here. I'm gonna call your mom. I'm gonna punch you in your chest. Which one you want? All right, put me in the chest. No problems for the whole year. No problems for the whole year. I'm gonna keep punching you in your chest.
You ever heard of the term hurt people hurt people?
You ever heard of the term soft?
Yeah, buddy.
Soft
people would treat people soft.
We call that soft. If you hurt, sorry, life is painful. Life is about suffering. You're gonna have more bad days than good days. That's what I'm saying. We live in a and it's not the students, bro. I'm not gonna sit there and blame these kids. What it is, it's these democratic laws pushing this softness onto the public. They're doing this. They did it when they did it up in the early 80s. I was talking to my mother about this when they were saying, "Hey, we're gonna give y'all welfare." That's softening people. That softened our generation of people, and we got used to that. That's why we are a culture of dependency. Like these kids see all type of stuff, all type of guns and movies and Call of Duty. I'm sorry, I don't believe that kids are saying, "Oh, this officer is oppressing me." That's not true. These are democratic laws, progressive Democrats.
Well, we had before this judgment came down, maybe 2 years ago at this point, we had a meeting with some youth that were very staunchly against having SROs in the school. And we brought out folks from the NAACP. We had, at the time, one of the board members of the Chicago School Board come out, and because it was almost like his vote was going to be the deciding vote. So they had done some action at his home and tried to call themselves standing on business in front of his house. And he got us involved. I think, what did you say? We called Brandon at the time? Commissioner Johnson at the time. And we was trying to have a conversation. So the things that I'm telling you right now is what they were saying, those young people that was against SROs, this is the stuff that they're saying.
And you're not going to believe this. They were all very bright young people.
Yeah.
One was a Howard student,
Yep.
One was a Whitney Young student, and one was a high-ranking Whitney Westinghouse student that went to school for
Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
In Vanderbilt, the engineer, mechanical engineer, something like that.
Yeah, he wanted to be an aerospace engineer. And I said,
Yeah.
man, why are you guys doing this? Well, it's the system, it's the police. And I was like, man, the police got you guys one time or another, or is somebody training your mind to be like this? But
there you go, Steve. You just said it. You just named all of these prestigious people. So you mean to tell me folks them, BD them, Latin King them, they not the ones complaining. It's the most prestigious ones getting pulled over by the cops. You, Steve, do you know who Greta Thunberg is?
I heard the name.
Okay, that's the young activist woman. That's the young activist woman. She started as an activist for the planet, for climate change. Do you understand when you give children the freedom to be activists that girl mind is so poisoned because everyone's saying, oh, you're doing a good job. Oh, you're a hero. You can't really put activism inside of children. Kids, if I was the mayor, kids would not be allowed to be activists. No, go to school. Don't worry about being a little activist. Sit your little ass down and learn how to read. Learn how to do some math so you can go get a job. Don't worry about no activism. You leave activism to grown folks. Stay in a child's place. You are a child.
But you got to think about it. They're not children. These people, the youngest one was 17, right?
That's a child, Steve. That's a little boy to me. I'm old. That's a little boy to me. That's a little boy.
Not by the law. It'd be one more year, you're gonna be out on your own.
Okay, so. He got to wait that year. I'm old enough to be that boy father. I'm that old, y'all. I'm that old. My back hurt.
Well,
I'm old enough to be that boy father.
We would not have ever known that. We probably have thought you were talking about
wow,
But no, seriously, yeah, it was an interesting situation. But I'm gonna ride DeAndre on this one because they got him good, boy. They got him good. Them young people, he'll like when I bring this up.
Oh yeah, I remember you were saying it.
I've known this man almost 10 years now. And his motto used to be, "I'm the youngest man in the room," which he was. He was. And then others started coming. But DeAndre asked the three young people in the room. He was the first one to speak besides Dwayne Truss and Brandon Johnson, Carl Brinson, and Ramel. It was the other Ramel. So he says, what was the plan? Man, you ever seen the movie Do the Right Thing when the white guy came into Harlem and he said, look,
yeah.
I own this red stone and I got some Nikes on too. And they said, man, they jumped up. Look at this guy. What are you talking about? Look at him. He didn't ask what plan it was when they closed 50 schools, when they cut down 100 schools. He didn't ask what plan it was when they shut down the mental health institute. Look at this guy right here. And I said, hold on, young people, hold on. I said, you jumping on him, but I hate to tell you this. DeAndre was you guys 4 or 5 years ago. So he understands, but he's evolved. And he's trying to figure out what's in the psyche of the person that's younger than he is now, because he knows he's evolved. But they jumped on you, man. I was like, man, I thought they were going to look at you a little different because you were closer than, in age than they were. Right. I mean, than we were.
He had them gray hairs on him. That's what it was. He had them gray. They can't connect with that man. He had them gray hairs on him.
No. Nah, so I was just, like I said, I was asking them, what was the plan? Because, I was saying, and now as we've gotten years away from it, they're saying they want more librarians and social workers in the school and therapists on deck. And, they would like, our schools to be more advanced and things like that. So when I was asking them, was like, what are y'all actually looking for? And I was saying, and what are you going to accept? Because y'all got to understand, you're not going to get everything that you're looking for. So I was saying, what's the plan in terms of, okay, do you want to see one nurse, one librarian, one social worker per school, when we get rid of this SRO. So I was just trying to get them to think like that, but you know.
Yeah, they just want to roam and free and tear up the schools and cause havoc. That's all they want to do. They want to cause havoc and tear up the school.
I don't know about that, man, because I can tell you this much: the one young man, he didn't live too far from me, and I knew his family's background, and I knew how he lived, and I just think that he was being trained to think that law enforcement is evil, and I don't think he believed that laws were evil. But anything that, well, I take that back because I'm bringing a congressman on this. So about a week, we kept trying to work with this one young man because we were told, work with him, Steve, and try to get him to understand what real activism is and what advocacy is, and it's not what they really think. So we brought him under our wing. We did some mutual aid events. We gave away food. We whipped the police with them. Do you know they came in and they saw the police inside the NAC and they said, hey, Mr. Robinson, what they doing here? It's like they're helping us distribute the food. Oh man, we don't be in the same room with the police. they start saying some crazy things. I say, look, these guys work with us. They're good stewards to the community. They've worked with us some years. We know these cops. They're good. Well, make them stand outside with the signs then, and we'll take the food. I'm like, we could do both. We'll switch it up. And the other thing was, we ended up going on WVON one morning, me, DeAndre, and the young man. So we had kind of a real good generational gap by 20 years, 30 years. DeAndre was 20 years older than they were, and I was 30 years older than DeAndre, so forth. And we got on VON, and the young man, Congressman Davis, called in that morning, and he started talking about the insurrection because it was literally a year after January 6th. And the young man says, well, Mr. Congressman, I think those people were patriots. And what did he say that for? Because the congressman told me, he said, look, I don't care what you think. I was there when they were shooting, tearing up the room, killing people, trying to get to me and everybody else. They were going to patriotically be free with a bullet if they would come any closer. But he didn't understand that when the congressman was trying to tell him. And then the young man tried to double down. I had to kick him under the table. It was like, hey, we don't make back it up a little bit. And I don't know, Congressman, you want to elaborate on that a little?
The only thing is that, everybody got a right to their opinion. Now, determining which opinion is most appropriate, or which opinion is most effective, I see where Vice President Pence and all the Republicans have been saying, bunches of them, especially the ones who want to continue to do politics, that they are for Trump. Pence finally reasoned out something. And I don't know what his experiences with Trump may have been. Or he just reached a point of logic in saying, whether I ever get a chance to be elected to anything again or not, whether I do anything political again or not, no, I can't vote for this guy. Exactly.
Well, especially after he came for his head.
He got his, and, given the fact that he did, gotta say, go after his head.
Yeah.
And so generally, if you go after people, even if they don't want to, if you go after them, they're going to come after you because they think it's less than personhood. I won't say manhood because things have changed where all population groups protect their integrity and protect their sense of being. So if you got to go after somebody to protect your sense of being, then you have to go after them. We have to go after the police.
Mhm.
Now, I think we do have notions about law enforcement, but how do we change that? I'm saying, will law enforcement meet the citizen halfway? And will the citizen meet law enforcement? Or do we have a situation like what we are experiencing in the Middle East with Israel and Hamas? Each one of them are saying that they can't get the response from the other,
Right.
unless they go totally to the max.
Mhm.
That there is no space. I mean, Hamas says our purpose is to make sure that no state of Israel exists in this region. That's what Israel says. We cannot live in peace unless we destroy Hamas. And we will do everything in our power to destroy Hamas. There is no ground between. There's no
Common ground.
no common ground. And so here's half the rest of the world saying, look, fellas, Joe Biden is saying, look, let's sit down.
Right.
Let's back up a little bit. Let's give a little taste. And this guy is saying, notwithstanding the fact that you give us a lot of money, we still don't do what we do.
Mhm.
Now, is your next move?
Mhm.
I mean, and so the world is getting to a point where it's becoming irritated with the state of it. Saying, you just want to say, let's go. We wipe out everybody and everything associated with Hamas, even if we end up harming and hurting a whole lot of other people. And they're saying, oh, but that's the only way to do it.
That's crazy.
That's a tough one. It's a tough one.
But you have to define who exactly is Hamas.
I think they know who they are. I mean,
You know,
they are those individuals who have committed themselves to a certain approach to trying to determine what they would call liberation and self-determination for their people.
There's going to be a ton of protests that are going to continue to happen as this war rages on. It's unfortunate because I hear what they're saying, and they're like, look, we sparing, we don't care who it is. We putting the hammer down, and everybody around the world is like, man, but y'all been doing that though. What's different this time?
well, you gotta think about this part of it. Is this any different from what if the Jewish state is doing this to other people because they're looking for a particular group called Hamas? Is this any different from what Hitler did? They're searching out to seek out only the Jews?
No, it ain't much different.
I mean, somebody needs to explain this to me because I really don't. Another thing is, I was talking to someone, I think it was Barry, and I said, Barry, someone said that the Palestinians are the cousins of the, no, they are cousins, but they were Jews that converted to Islam many eons ago. But I don't want to confuse Palestinians with Hamas, although Hamas are Palestinians. There may be other people too, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, but I mean, bottom line, it's the same thing with us. You have to abide by whoever's the law of the land, whoever's the head honcho in charge at the end of the day. And regardless of what Israel did, regardless of what America did to black people, personal responsibility is the last line of defense. And so we can't go out and Nat Turner our way to freedom. Yeah, we had some of our Nat Turners, and shout out to Nat Turner. He did what he had to do. You feel me? Hamas did what they had to do because they felt that they were being prosecuted under the yoke of bondage of Israel. But at the same time, you have examples. You do have examples like Martin Luther King. And I know I'm a Malcolm Xer, you feel me? But there are other examples that they could have did. There are other things that they could have did and to get their point across. I don't think they practice that much. And it's the same thing with police and black people in our community. There's ways of, like when you said, I don't want no police here. They wasn't even trying to hear anything else. That's the problem. You got to try to hear the other side. You got to try to come to some common ground. Well, come to common ground and you go to the maps like our brother Nat Turner did. Look what they did to him. They burnt him. Look what they did to him. Look what they did to Palestine. They flattened Palestine and killed 31,000 people because of what they did October 7th. Regardless of what Israel did before, you have to have decorum and you got to be poised in your strategic battle. You feel me? That's the main reason. Go ahead.
Because you are a very hard person to figure out. Have you come up with these ideas as a point of evolution, or have you always been on the person that's always been on the right side of the law?
I used to be on the left side of the law. I used to do things that was always wrong.
Hypocrite.
But you learn. You learn.
But henceforth and therefore thereafter, a hypocrite. Because you should have learned when you should have learned. I did learn when I learned.
You're right. I did learn when I learned.
You're supposed to learn young. You ain't that old.
No, well, you really can't. It's really hard to say that because when you soldiering in Chicago, when you grow up in Chicago and you grew up around nothing but crime, all your family members are Steve. But the difference between me and you, all of my dad family members are gang members. All of them are killers, rapists, murderers. All of them.
I was raised on the 119th. I was good. I was a good guy. When I came out west, well, we was off the horse for real.
You feel me? Yeah.
That you can think about except shooting at people.
So let me say this.
And I almost did that too.
Yes, he did. I was there.
So if you evolve, now I give you a young age because you're impressionable. You're very impressionable. But I mean, yeah, I give you that much. It all happened at that age. You're impressionable. But I was gonna say, I was impressionable, but I didn't go the route. But I get it. I get the circumstances. Y'all had different circumstances than I did. But what if I go the route now that I'm an older guy? How would I be looked upon?
Oh, you be looked at as bad. Hey, Dre always say, listen, I give you to 30. If you don't get your act together, that's what Dre say. I'm going with the doctor say. The doctor say, I give you to 30. And I got it right at 30. I got it right in my late 20s.
Take adult decisions at 25. I'm gonna give you 5 more years. When you turn 30, everything else is on you. Personal responsibility, self-accountability comes into play to the max.
I'm gonna give you something. I'm gonna give you that. I always tell DeAndre, I used to tell him, what's the difference between an old fool and a young fool? And the answer is, an old fool never learns because he's still doing the same dumb stuff. A young fool has an opportunity.
That happens.
A young fool always has an opportunity to change. And if he made it to be old and still doing it, it ain't right. So you're absolutely right about that. I get that.
Yeah, I used to be anti-police and all of this, and but I was like, no, I sat there and thought, like, you know what? Most of my police interactions have been pretty good. They've let me go. Like, I'm supposed to have been locked up for not having insurance and car taken away, all type of stuff. Like, you get some bad police officers, like you get some bad Popeyes people. You do get bad customer service with police officers. You feel me? So
Right.
again, with the you gotta know how to work with both of them.
Go ahead, Congress.
I always wonder, what do we do about all of these things that we don't like and complain and stuff? And I mean, what do we do to change?
Well,
What the congressman say? What do we do to change?
What do we do to make change? I just before you came in, Congress, I said in the last several years, and I'll go back 10, we've had all these great laws and change. We had a cannabis law come into place where they can sell cannabis. We had concealed carry where you could be able to conceal and carry guns in the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago. Now we have the no cash bail. What do you call it?
Safety Act.
No cash bail. We do have that
Safety Act.
in Illinois. But we act like moral suasion is going to produce the results that we want or we're looking for. And while I think moral suasion will ultimately produce some results, I think there are other approaches that are probably just as effective. And when you mix them with moral suasion, there's a notion that people will do right ultimately because it's right to do right.
Oh yeah, no, that ain't happening.
My mama used to tell us, right is right if nobody is right. Wrong is wrong if everybody is wrong. It's still wrong. And so how do we determine what is right and what is wrong? And how do we make right take place?
Oh, you know what? I think laws. We need stronger laws. You get caught with a legal gun, you get 10 years. You have to put fear in people. Fear brings morality. You be morality. You know why I was scared of my mama? Because them beat downs was vicious. Them beat down. The punishment, these people not scared to be punished no more. We need harder laws. You get caught with a gun, you get 10 years. You're gone. That's it. 10 years. We need to be more strict. And you got to put fear into the people. That's how you get respect.
Are we voting enough? I'm saying period. I ain't talking about who you're voting for or who you're voting against. I'm saying, have we given up on voting?
I was thinking about that today, Congressman. I was literally saying, I think that people have kind of gotten complacent with not having to be a part of the system or being, part of the process.
That's not. I part of it is okay. Like I said, for us as millennial folks, growing up, my parents never, ever, ever talked about politics. I don't know if they voted. I don't know who they voted for. I don't know why they voted for them. I didn't know anything about the cycles by which people serve. The only little bit of understanding we got was that social sciences class we had to take in high school. And we had to know the Bill of Rights and
preamble. And so
right, the preamble, our U.S. Constitution. But beyond that, and so now you're talking about having even less civic education. The community doesn't prep you for it because I was still an adult that didn't know anything about politics and only learned because I decided to be involved in the community. So it's like, We can't expect people that have a lack of knowledge to get into anything that they don't really know about. That's part of it. You know, and then again, for us in our community, I don't think we understand the value of having numbers in that the congressman is a person that they lean on heavily because he always has a top voting district. You know what I mean? And they're always going to show up for the support of the Congress because they're like, shit, he can make things happen because people coming out, you know? And so we need to understand that on all the different levels that we operate on, that we could get more if we did more, but that involves this whole systematic process of folks understanding the process and being involved in the process, and all of it starts with education. So.
And I guess accountability. How do you hold people accountable and deal with factual stuff and real stuff, as opposed to just sort of going along with whatever people say, whatever they say they're gonna do, whatever they say they've done, they lie, and people just take it.
We don't do our Googles. We don't do our research. Yep.
I told people today, and I hadn't thought about that. So I said, look, if you don't believe what I say, Google it. Just Google Wikipedia or whatever, because there's a lot, especially if you're in the public space, they got something down about you.
Which brings up another point, because you said Google. Now, and this is something that just happened with you and your campaign, Constance. The other day they had that prep rally on the 12th day before the election, which was the 12th of March, honestly. And your punch number is 12. And in the Bible, it says, I forgot what it was, what number 12 stands for. But the young lady that was reciting it, she goes, and on Google, it says in the Bible, the 12th number stands for such and such, such and such. And then I'm like, well, she doesn't have a Bible. She doesn't even know where to find it in the Bible other than Googling it. And I'm saying this to say.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I just looked it up. I'll look at it.
Go ahead, read it.
The biblical meaning of 12 is significant in understanding God's divine plan and purpose. The number 12 represents completeness, authority, and divine order throughout the Bible. Exploring the symbol. No, that's it. I'll just read those two.
But my point to that is, because also on Time Exchange, Barry's Time Exchange Zoom, that there was a young man on there, and he kept saying, younger people see, and young people see, and they saw. And it made me start to think. When I was younger, it wasn't what I was told not to. What you see on TV ain't real, and what you don't believe it because it ain't real. It ain't part of what's reality.
Well,
we were told to listen and learn. That's what they used to say. You listen, you will learn.
They gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Well, this business that people come up that there is some unique vision that young people have. I think that's their fault. I think people learn what they live and live what they learn. And if young people, there are many millions of young people in this country who are doing extremely well, who have wonderful lives, who are learning, doing, enjoying life. There are millions of them just having a good time with March Madness, watching basketball and being engaged in that, and seeing which team is going to emerge out of all the competition and competitiveness. So it's not all these young people having a problem that people project. I mean, there are young people in some places and some spaces, but you know, a lot of the young people doing that, knowing that they do certain things and they grow into adulthood, and the things are being taught to them, and they're gonna get right out of high school, zip right on into college, or dip into the military, or go into some other programmatic stuff that prepares them for the future. Millions of young people are doing that
Absolutely.
every day.
But I think my trepidation was based on the fact that when he kept saying they see, is that they go and Google it and they don't get the right information and they see what they see and they take it as the gospel. And that's what when he kept saying they see, and I'm like,
There are young people in some environments that the environment impacts greatly. There are some young people who have single parents, but there have been some single parents who have just raised some of the most wonderful young people that you've ever seen. Then there are some double parents that the young people coming out of their homes, that their environment, my God, monsters and so forth, that whatever it is out on the set, whatever it is in the streets, it got a hold to them, and nobody's been able to get that out of them. So I think we have to do the practical thing. And everything don't work for everybody. And each person has to try and do the best that they can based upon the circumstances of their being. And if people do that, like you say, church, there's some people who don't even think about going to church. Church ain't on their scope.
right.
I mean, church. Then there are others who beautifully. I mean, I was at a church today, it was just wonderful. Church was filled, it was full of people. People were excited, they expressed faith, and they were enjoying themselves, having a good time. And obviously the pastor and the members and everybody enjoy what they do. And it's well organized and really put together. And it was just fun being there. And I enjoyed it tremendously. Yeah. Next one, same thing going on. But a lot of folks, since COVID, they stopped going to church and they never got back in the groove.
Yeah, there are quite a few that are still isolated and super isolated. And
yeah, they just, whatever. And then there are people who like it. I noticed my wife was getting dressed. I said, where you going? This been the first week she's been up and out and about. And I guess she likes being about. And then you go into church, you have trouble getting down the steps. Down the stairs, Brother Jonathan gonna come help me. But I'm going to church. Right on.
yeah, I mean, so much has changed in the last 4 years. We started out, top of the show, we called the show, what did we say, DeAndre?
The election is near.
The election is near. And it's
please vote if you're out there. I mean, a lot of people talk about this stuff, but when you go and check them out, they didn't vote. I mean, you gotta do it all. Every bit of it counts.
When you're trying to represent a district, some of us think, don't be like me. I want to represent you, but I don't want you to I don't want to represent you in the same light that you would want me to represent you in, I guess.
Well, each person just has to study. I remember the message that Paul gave to Timothy, his mentoring. And he said that study to show thyself workman needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word truth. And so those were good instructions. And if people do that, generally they can do all right. I mean, no matter what kind of profession, what kind of thing they do, there's room at the end. There's room for you as long as you make use of yourself.
I heard that. Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that one. You want to represent people, and you're gonna have to cast a vote, probably many votes, if you were a congressman or a senator. But you never voted until a couple months or years ago. And I mean, that should be part of your practice. If you know you're gonna be voting on behalf of the people, you should be practicing with the people. But nevertheless, it is what it is with some of us.
Yeah, we just go right ahead and do the best you can. Abraham Lincoln said that, you know, you do the best you can. And if the end comes out all right, people will swear what a great person you were. But if the end comes out wrong, a legion of angels swearing that you were right will make a difference. And so you go ahead, do the best that you can for as long as you can, and hope that the end comes out all right.
Right.
That's all you could do.
That's all we can ever do, right?
You want to start going around the room?
Yes, indeed. Anybody got any questions for the show? We talked about SROs. We talked about the upcoming election. We talked about.
Let me tell you, I got $1 million for the one down the street that we voted the money out last Wednesday, as a matter of fact, right down there at the Y on Central.
Right. Different SRO, but you're talking about single room occupancy?
I'm talking about single room occupancy. They got 100 rooms that need rehabbing. We just got them $1 million to rehab.
Okay. All right.
Fix them up so that 100 people can come from under the viaduct.
There you go.
Can come from the tent or come from having no place to live.
It's a good, what they call hand up.
Yeah, we're delighted. We also got $850,000 to fix up the field house in Columbus Park.
Oh, okay. Right. I remember.
And we got $1 million for the West Side Health Authority.
For the fire.
Yes, right there. They working on this stuff. Right there. We also got $1 million for another outfit. We got a big piece of money for St. Leonard's House. You remember St. Leonard?
No, I'm not familiar with St. Leonard's House.
On Washington Boulevard, right across the street from where the
Most
Miles used to be the oldest of all the programs that helped people who was on drugs, needed to get some drug help. Used to be heroin was a big deal.
Right.
And of course, crack cocaine. Now all the other pills and thrills.
Fentanyl and all this stuff. Yeah.
And all. That money was voted out last Wednesday.
So it looks like almost about $5 million, close to.
It's about, well, actually, it's 14 million.
Oh, really?
If I think about all of the others, there's other things further down, a safe haven, that it totals 14 million.
Okay. Sound like some prosperous things looking up for our district.
Well, we're fixing the train station right there. I mean, the CTA for people with disabilities right there Lake and, Foster.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
They're gonna put an elevator in or something?
whatever they do to
Yeah.
fix it, I
They
don't know,
probably do. Elevators, yeah.
whatever they need to do.
Oh, I know what I wanted to tell you, Congressman. So I started the commission. Remember you had, asked me to start a commission for the flood
Oh,
that we
yeah.
had. It's more of a mitigation commission, or I don't wanna call it that. We'll just call it a preparation commission. So I reached out to Water Reclamation. I reached out to, Metropolitan Water Reclamation. I reached out to, Chicago Water Management, and we all had our first meeting this last week. And the first thing that we'll be doing is coming up with a pamphlet to distribute out as a test pilot in the 37th ward, and we're gonna try to do it in the 29th also.
All right.
We'll have a copy of that, but then we'll go to the next phase, which will more likely be what type of systems or preventive measures can be done by those entities, whether it's water reclamation, whether city water management, in conjunction with each other to prevent these things from happening to people's homes. But the first thing we're going to do is have this educational and teaching pamphlet that we're going to try to get out to people, because people don't know what to do. They don't know that they can have a standpipe. They don't know that they should remove their gutters and downspouts from the sewer systems. They don't know they should have a rain barrel. They don't know there's so many different things. They don't know they should pick this stuff up off the floor and put them, in a safe area, on a safe height, so it won't, end up damaging their goods. But that's one thing we started this week, and then I'm going to be working with them closely for the next, whoever knows how long. Anybody else got any questions out there? Comments? We're about to wrap up, y'all. Bear, let's start with you. Man, they be killing me, man.
Well, hello again. What can we do now? Two things on my mind. One is the election on the 19th, just a few days from now. And that's preparation for the biggie. November election is a fork in the road. So that's a big item on my mind. And the second is fundamentally, how can we empower each other to do what each of us does best? And how can we empower our networks, groups of people we know, to be more powerful and more effective in doing what they can? And I think the more we can do that, the more people will bring into our networks. And I think when we have an emphasis on good people helping good people, the moral strength and the spirit will increase. So those are some of the things on my mind.
How about you, Tiny? What you got? No, Tiny. How about you, Mosaic? Anything in conclusion?
Oh yeah, everybody go out and vote for the congressman. I believe you said his punch number was 12. He's been soldiering for Illinois for quite some time, so I think it's the due diligence of the people to keep Black excellence in office, and also vote for President Trump, because we need white excellence too. You can't have the light without the dark.
You got jokes. All right.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Is that something like saying I can't have God without the devil?
Come on, man. Oh, come on. Come on.
I don't even know how you
creamer. Coffee and creamer. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Oh man. Oh, you always made me throw up, man. He said,
Man,
what? So you got anything, Arnold?
No, just, like we all saying, 2 days, looking forward to just doing everything we can possibly do.
Why is your mic so low?
Select today and get the people come out and vote. Punch that well. So we can enjoy everybody. And then, come to 3:05, I've got that 3:05 and 3:20 South California, starting about 7:30 after the polls close, so we have a tremendous victory for Congressman Davis. So that's what I'm doing, and I urge everyone out there listening to do the same. Look forward to coming out Tuesday night to the victory celebration.
All right. Okay, trying to see everybody's trying to wind down. What you got, DeAndre? Go ahead, or you got Congress, you got anything?
The only thing I want to do is I want to thank all of those individuals who've been engaged, especially engaged in my efforts and our efforts to get re-elected. People who have contributed money, whether it was $5 or $50 or $10. It has been heartwarming, quite frankly, to see the kind of contributions and the level of participation and the actions of people to indicate that it does make a difference. I am so proud of that. I don't know what to do. And it's not so much about Danny Davis. If Watusi was in the same predicament or position that I am, Watusi would be the best person to vote for, because all of the things that matter. There are 5 people running for Congress, and I guarantee you that I'm unequivocally in the best position to do good for the good. And if I thought any differently, I probably wouldn't be running. So thank you all for whatever you've done, whatever you do, it's my pleasure.
Real quick, April, you got anything in conclusion? You there?
No, I'm okay. I'm done. I didn't text you enough.
That's all right.
Thanks.
We see it. We see it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Appreciate you. Hey, real quick, DeAndre, go ahead and close us out. We almost.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man, go do your due diligence, man. Tomorrow still got an extra day before the lines back up, and y'all use that as an excuse. So you still got tomorrow to early vote. You go vote right in your ward. You know what I mean? So go find your spot, go vote. I ain't got much more to say than that. You know, it's important that we count it, y'all. Yeah. It's very important. Other than that, y'all know how we do. Various ways that you can interact with this show here. We got the Facebook, the YouTube, and the Zoom. They all going. If you're on the YouTube or the Facebook, you type your comment in. We can see it. We can respond to you. We chat with you like that. Unless you want to come right in, then click the link for that Zoom, and you're right in the middle of the show. You can just have a conversation with us. Share the show. Always got to make sure I put that out. Let's continue to grow this thing. 3 years in, and you know we're still doing the thing. So just continue to grow with us. I guess, like I said, in closing, man, listen, we got open seats at the table. We just trying to welcome y'all on home. Thank y'all for allowing us to welcome you to Northwest Austin County.
So good night, y'all. Later, Arnold. I got you. I let them know.
okay, good night all.
God bless everybody.
All right.
Good night.
All right, now.
Bye, Tiny. Hadn't heard your voice.
Okay. All right, Barry. Good hearing your voice.
Take care. Bye.
All right. All righty.